All right, everybody, turn out the lights. The party's over. It's been fun. It was short lived, but it's been an incredible ride, but the ride has come to a close. And it's a dark day for the University of Washington. Kalen DeBoer is moving on to the Alabama Crimson Tide, presumably going to take some stuff with him, and it looks like we are going to be on the downturn here in Washington for at least a year or two. Just trying to be realistic here, not trying to be over the top negative, just trying to be real about where this is going after this move. So, a couple days ago, it looked like Dan Lanning to Alabama was a done deal. In fact, I almost made a video about it because it looked so definite that it was going to be Dan Lanning. But the moment it became clear that that was premature and it wasn't going to be Dan Lanning quite yet, there was some reason to be concerned that it could be Kalen DeBoer. Colin Coward and his sources started reporting that it was going to be Kalen DeBoer. It picked up more and more steam over the last day. And earlier today, just a few hours ago, it was made official Kalen DeBoer has taken the Alabama job. And that leaves Washington in a tough spot going forward. There's no way around it. Just, on the surface level, the bare minimum, Kalen DeBoer did an amazing job these last 2 years. It's hard to imagine anyone else doing much of a better job. Since he has showed up over the last 2 years, the Huskies have lost 3 games. They've had one genuinely bad loss, the Arizona game. Every other game they played in, they've either won or lost respectably. And both years he's been here, the team has overachieved my expectations. Last year, or 2 years ago, I thought they were going to be like an 8-win team. They won 10 games and then won their bowl game. And then last year, I thought they were going to win the Pac 12 and make the playoff. They won a playoff game and made the national title game. So that is 2 years of overachieving on the back of Kalen DeBoer and his offensive system and the array of talent that he helped put together here in Washington. So that's a tough loss just on the surface. Bare minimum, what we can say is this sets the program back a little bit, for sure. You're not going to replace Kalen DeBoer with somebody better. Maybe you can get somebody else who's good, but I don't think you're going to get somebody as good, and you're definitely not going to get somebody better. The job he did turning this program around after Jimmy Lake was remarkable. It was faster than I think any of us had any right to expect. And even though this hurts and this sucks, I'll always be grateful for what DeBoer did here. And beyond just this, the program's getting torn to shreds right now. We have a bunch of players leaving for the NFL, which that's expected, right? We knew Penix was gone. We knew O'Dunsey was going to be gone, even though he was trolling Oregon fans a couple days ago, which was great. We knew Fatanu was going to be gone. We knew Trice was going to be gone. But now we're hearing McMillan's gone. Polk is gone. Dylan Johnson is gone. Probably a couple other guys that I'm not thinking of off the top of my head. So many guys declaring for the NFL. We knew it was going to be a step back. But now with this move, with Kalen DeBoer going to Alabama, we're seeing Muhammad enter the transfer portal. He announced that earlier. We're seeing some guys decommit from Washington. So I don't know what happens with Will Rogers at this point. And if we do lose Will Rogers, we're definitely not going to bring in anybody who's a prime cut of meat at this point. I don't think we'd get like Cam Ward. I don't think we'd get like Riley Leonard or anybody like that. We'd be getting second tier, third tier guys. Unless maybe you end up with somebody like a Cliff Kingsbury, which I have heard a little bit about, which I would be cool with, but even then, you're still not going to get the same prime cuts of meat that you were getting with DeBoer. So the whole program is getting nuked right now. And at the end of the day, this is the circle of life in college football. You get a coach, and he pretty quickly moves on as soon as the opportunity is available for him to move up if he does well. And if he does poorly, then you fire him because he's not doing well and you get somebody else. So this is just the way that it goes. You lose players after a few years, you lose coaches after a few years, and there's really not that much you can do about it. Like, Alabama is the most prestigious head coach gig in college football right now, probably, or at least it's up there. It's the most prestigious available one, right? Like maybe Georgia's more prestigious right now, but Kirby Smart's not going anywhere. He's basically embedded in that program for as long as he wants to be. So when a school like Alabama comes knocking for your coach, there's not much you can do except just say so long and thanks for all the wins. So that sucks. Yeah, I'm not really. I mean, I'm not devastated because it was not hard to imagine that DeBoer was going to be gone at some point, either to a school like Alabama or going to some place like the NFL. Like it was going to happen eventually, but I was hoping we could squeeze one more year out of it, but there's no way next year was going to be better than the year we just had. So I can understand leaving now. I don't have a lot of resentment for DeBoer right now for leaving. I think it's completely understandable. His star will never be higher than it is right now. There's no way we're making the national championship game next year, even with him, with all the guys we're losing. And the recruiting classes aren't really stellar. And that's kind of the interesting subplot here. Kalen DeBoer has not yet proven he's a great recruiter. He's proven he's a great coach and that he can do a good job luring people through the transfer portal. The recruiting classes under DeBoer have not been all that great. And I wonder how that's going to play in a place like Alabama where recruiting is everything. So we'll see how this plays out. But yeah, this is a loss. We could get somebody in here who's a better recruiter than DeBoer, but I don't believe that his body of work will be able to be better than DeBoer, period. I've heard some names already thrown out, like Cliff Kingsbury, which would be interesting. Just don't let it be Ryan Grubb. I don't feel like that's going to work. I don't feel like the Ryan Grubb thing would work out very well. So I want to do a little better than that. But anyway, send off. Thank you, Kalen DeBoer, for 2 amazing years. You won 11 games your first year, and then you won 14 games this year. Remarkable run, 25-3. You beat Oregon 3 times. You beat Texas, and I mean this unironically, the back version of Texas, not the Texas version of Texas from the last decade and a half. Twice, you basically did everything right. Maybe the team was a little undisciplined this year, right? That's about the worst you can say about them. But guess what? They won almost every game, and it's not like they lost to Michigan because they were undisciplined or anything like that. So there's not much you can say except it was a remarkable run. He turned Michael Penix into maybe the greatest Washington offensive player ever. Some people have even argued he's the best player for the Huskies ever, period. But certainly the best offensive player in the history of the school. And he's shaped the future NFL careers of so many guys. Odunze's a first-round pick. Fatanu's a first or second-round pick. Penix is going to be picked in the top 100 minimum. I don't know exactly where. I think McMillan's getting drafted. Polk is getting drafted. Dylan Johnson's getting drafted. Braylon Trice, don't forget about him. Like, he's done so much for this program in a very short amount of time. And it sucks that it's over, but this was always going to happen. It kind of makes sense that it's going to happen now, right after he made the national championship game. So yeah, we're looking at some maybe lean years here in Washington. I don't think it'll last forever, but you're not going to get somebody better than Kalen DeBoer right off the bat. You're just not. And even if you do, building the mosaic of talent that we had this most recent season, that's not easy either. So those two things crossing over the way that they did, not easy to reproduce. All right. See you guys later. Bow down to Washington. It's a sad day. It's a bad day. I'm not happy about it, but life goes on. Life rolls on. And you got to find new guys. You got to find new coaches that can do the job. We'll see what happens in the coming days, but right now this program is getting chewed up.